Our civilization today is like a furious, petulant teenager. But in terms of what it can do, it's a god. So we have godlike powers with the consciousness of an immature teenager.
At this particular point in time, our society possesses immense technological and destructive power, yet we may lack the wisdom and maturity to handle it responsibly. Graham Hancock brings up a fascinating point that is often not talked about within the current state of our society: the unsettling truth that humanity wields godlike powers with the consciousness of an immature teenager.
But we have nukes today, and we have them in an enormous scale. And behind each of those nukes is a fragile human being with his own or her own ego and complexes and fears and paranoia. And we're reaching a point where those buttons are going to be pressed.
Our capacity to harness nuclear weapons, manipulate genetic material, and alter our climate makes us godlike in terms of power, yet our motivations and understanding often don't match that of the wise, steady deity figure we might hope to emulate. Much of our decision-making is still driven by personal ego, fear, and political interests. Each nuclear weapon, as the discussion points out, is controlled by a fragile human being who brings to that role their own insecurities, biases, and potential for error.
That's what we're looking at in the world today. And maybe by understanding our past better, maybe we can learn something that would be helpful to us in not carrying on in this way, because we do live at an inflection point just now.
This imbalance creates a situation where we as a society stand at an inflection point, a crucial moment that could define our legacy. Like a petulant teenager, we push boundaries and often act impulsively, despite having unprecedented control over our environment and lives. Here's where it starts to get interesting, and Graham begins to explain why this is undeniably the case.
We are, as far as I know, the first human civilization that has the capacity to actually wipe itself out completely. We don't need a comet impact. We can do it to ourselves, and that requires humanity to make a major step forward in consciousness.
Ancient societies may have held great wisdom and accomplishments, but they didn't possess tools capable of such widespread destruction. Now we're the ones who have lost touch with ancient wisdom, but have created this unprecedented power. We have the ability to annihilate ourselves and our planet, something no prior civilization could truly do.
And I think making that major step forward in consciousness will be helped by better understanding our own past.
What Graham means by that is continuing to understand how these civilizations before us, once thriving, have since disappeared.
Disturbing how many times we can travel to ancient places like Greece or realize, oh, there's a thriving civilization here at one point. You realize, like, this civilization did not make it.
The comparison to civilizations like Greece and Rome serves as a powerful reminder that even the most sophisticated societies can fall. A central insight here is that civilizations rise and collapse as part of a larger human cycle, one in which the hubris of thinking it can't happen to us often leads to societal decline. The assumption that modernity insulates us from such risks is dangerous.
Fascinating, complex civilization crumbled. And the idea that ours can't is one that we kind of hold dear. Like, we're different, we got to figure it out. But there's so much evidence that that's just a normal pattern of human history.
Civilizations come and go.
Yet, the potential for change and growth is part of the conversation too. Humanity does have an opportunity to step forward in consciousness, to learn from history, and perhaps cultivate a higher level of maturity in how we handle our power.
I understand that the hurricanes that are happening in the US at the moment are horrific. We find it hard enough to make it through a hurricane. I find it difficult to see how we could make it through another Younger Dryas impact event, or how we could make it through a man-made cataclysm as a result of nuclear war.
In order to not put ourselves in more precarious situations, it requires recognizing our interconnectedness, not just with past civilizations, but with each other, in order to break the cycle of destruction that has defined so much of human history. Graham fears that we may be closer to destruction more than we'd like to admit.
And I fear is much closer than we think. I hate the idea that nuclear missiles may be flying in my lifetime or the lifetime of my children, but I have to say, honestly, it's a possibility with the state of the world at the moment and the low state of consciousness of the people who lead us.
One of the core insights Hancock seems to be drawing out here is the idea that this kind of hate-mongering is not intrinsic to everyday people. Left to our own devices, most people are capable of, and even prefer, coexistence and cooperation. But when leaders tap into fear and propagate narratives that make certain groups scapegoats, the seeds of hatred are sown, often with devastating results.
The leaders and governments are behind this. It's not human beings, individual people who are behind this hatred in the world today. It's leaders and governments who are mobilizing that hatred to serve their own interests. And it's very dangerous. If we didn't have nukes, it would be less dangerous.
This is in many ways an invitation to rethink our trajectory. Just as ancient societies learned from shared ideas and adapted new ways of living, perhaps we can cultivate a society that leverages its power for harmony, not for chaos. In this view, the challenge lies in embracing maturity before it's too late, in striving to grow from our cosmic adolescence into something resembling a responsible, enlightened civilization. If we can look at our world and our decisions with the perspective of wise caretakers rather than impulsive youths, we may find ourselves better equipped to handle the profound influence we wield and to use it in ways that future generations will look back on with gratitude, not regret.